I'm a mother, a daughter, a grandma, a sister.
I'm a father.
I am a husband, a father, an uncle, a brother, a son.
I am a father. I am a son. I am a brother.
I am a son, a brother, a father, a U.S. soldier.
I am a father of a beautiful 5-year-old American citizen daughter. I'm also a son, and I'm a brother.
I was brought to the U.S. as a baby.
And I'm a childhood arrival.
I was deported to Tijuana 7 years ago.
I was deported in 2011 to Tijuana.
I was deported from Sacramento, California.
I was deported to Tijuana, Mexico when I was 45 years old.
And I was left behind.
I was left behind.
I'm an Army paratrooper, and I was left behind.
I am a U.S. Army veteran. I am an American, and I have been left behind.
There's a misconception that everybody that gets deported, they somehow committed a crime. And that's why I believe they're forgotten.
There are thousands of deported and forcibly returned to Mexico. Millions around the world living in limbo, in exile, and away from our families. It's time to stand up together for true accountability, reparation, and justice.
We're having kids growing up without fathers, or without mothers, or without both.
Siblings are becoming strangers. Marriages are being torn apart because of your borders. And communities across the United States are incomplete without us. We need you to open the door for us and to organize with us. We need to go back home.
Un día sí vas a regresar al país. One day you shall be welcomed back to the country for all of your service, for your dedication and your sacrifice. You will be glorified with the flag draped over the coffin, and all of us will surround and give thanks. Thank you for your service. Oh, people will be teary-eyed and hold your mother and father's hands and your brothers and sisters and call them great for having given up your life for them. But it is time to bring you home now, before the coffin, before the folded flag, before this country wants to kneel before your gravesite to give thanks. Thanks should be given in justice, in bringing you home and letting you hug your mother and father again.
We're getting deported, sir. We need a president that will stop that. Will that be you, sir?
Yes, it will, by the way.
Will you shake on it, sir?
Anybody who's fought for the United States of America should not be in a position to be deported.
We're getting deported, sir. We're getting deported, sir. We're getting deported, sir.
Our message is to...
I'm a mother, a daughter, a grandma.
Welcome everyone. Thank you so much for joining in today. My name is Jennifer Martinez Medina. My pronouns are she, her, ella. I am one of the project organizers, and I am also with Repatriate or Patriot, a small advocacy organization supporting non-citizen immigrant veterans, deported veterans. Thank you so much for joining us today at our President's Day events. This is a one-year virtual celebration, and it will be followed by a rededication ceremony and mural installation taking place right after this event at 11 a.m. PST time at Don Diego VFW post 7420 in Barrio Logan. Launching today's event, since the project's initial campaign launch, many organizers, community organizers, storytellers have joined efforts to urge the Biden and Harris campaign and Congress to enact immigration policy to repatriate deported veterans, support childhood arrivals, and end family separation and reunite families. It's been 1 year since the launch of the Leave No One Behind Mural project, and we can't tell you how grateful we are for the year of support that you've given us. 1 year ago, we decided to merge advocacy with art and build a campaign to remind the Biden administration about the human and family costs of our current immigration and deportation system. We kicked off our campaign precisely on President's Day last year with the endorsement of Representative Chuy Garcia from Illinois and with the support of 22 coalition members. With the digital work of coalition artist Javier Salazar, or Deported Artist on Instagram, we developed murals depicting real life stories that have been posted in many communities and cities across the country, here in the US and in Mexico. Since then, we've worked with dozens of local organizers to reclaim these stories, reroute these stories in their hometowns, and disrupt this erasure of deportation. And here we are 1 year later, giving you an update on the milestones and the work that remains undone, right, to ensure that the repatriation of veterans and immigrant families occurs. So today, Elizabeth de la Cruz Santana and I will co-host this event. We will begin with a project update, and then you will get to hear from Robert Vivar on our policy commitments, including the MVET portal update and urgent work that remains to seal the deal today. And from there, you will also hear from our coalition and storytellers. And here you could see our great coalition that has grown. We have several organizations that support veterans, immigration advocacy groups that have joined this cause. And we also just want to point out that this event coincides with Black History Month. And so we also want to bring to attention the stories of Black deported veterans whose stories are often left out of the current and existing discourses around immigration. We will also unveil the newest mural we have, which is a mural depicting Black deported veterans, and it was created by Jelani Abdul Latif. And then we'll do some closing remarks and then head out to our next event in San Diego. So first, I'm going to start with just an update on our murals, what has been happening in this past 12 months. So to date, we have shipped over 50 murals, and you could see the map here depicting the different cities where we have installed some murals. The red dots signify places where there's murals that have been delivered, but we're still working on installations. So to date, we've shipped over 50 murals and have made installations or held events in over 30 cities across the country. These events have all been different. Some have initiated or are made by intimate crowds. Others attract large crowds. Some have focused on one particular storyteller, and others have focused on different themes about immigration and the storytellers. And even some events have worked with different artists on the ground to also paint their own murals depicting the stories of the communities there in where they're from. So we just want to say how diverse these events have been. We want to thank the community organizers, the families, the stories that have been discussed at these events. And we have a wide diversity of storytellers as well, right? We include stories of deported veterans, non-citizen veterans, immigrant veterans, DACA, dreamers, permanent residents that have been deported. But there's this one unique connection between all of them, all of the groups that we're depicting. And that is this, that many of them are childhood arrivals, or they've formed exclusive ties to the US. And that's the centerpiece in all of our murals and all of our storytellers. So there's a wide diversity of countries we're representing here. And we do this intentionally to be inclusive in this conversation of the many countries that deported veterans are deported to and communities are deported to, right? And so our murals currently represent 95 storytellers. So 95, we've grown so much. And our set of storytellers are incredibly diverse. They represent over 17 different countries around the world. And this is a diaspora group that's large in numbers, and they've given us the trust to represent them. And I also just want to take a moment to recognize that deported veterans specifically are one of the groups that are incredibly diverse. The United States deports veterans all over the world, and it's so critical to acknowledge this. And so from there, I will leave it here, and I'm going to pass the mic on over to our colleague, Robert Vivar, who's going to talk about our current policy priorities.
Yes, Jenny, sorry. We're going to talk about the thematic murals first, and then Robert's going to come up and basically tell us why this project is so important, and then also why we're using art. So for this first part, as you can see here on this slide, we have 5 murals, and these are all 5 thematic murals that are showing the wide range of stories that make up this project. So as Jenny mentioned, 95 storytellers from 17 countries, which honestly, I feel like that's a huge accomplishment in being able to tell the stories through art. So these murals have been commissioned by deported artist Javier Salazar, who is also known as a deported artist on Instagram. So as you can see here, we have different murals. So our first one, the Leave No One Behind mural, was first installed in Tijuana. It was really important for us to be inclusive in our approach in the way that we are installing murals, and we thought that doing this in Tijuana specifically would be the best way to do so. So this mural was installed in March, along with veterans. Alex Murillo was there, Robert Vivar as well, and then many others who really helped us make this mural project happen. So our next one was the Deported Murals project. So this mural specifically highlights the stories of many deported veterans. So we have veterans who are currently in Tijuana and then in different countries as well. And basically a story that we wanted to highlight as well was Laura Meza, who is one of the only deported women that we know to date. And then the next mural from 2 of our colleagues who are with us today on this call is this third mural that also highlights the different diaspora experience that childhood arrivals face in the US. So not just only facing deportation, but also being forced to return to their country of birth. So this is another thematic mural that we hope can really highlight the different experiences that immigrants in the US are forced to face when we don't have a solution to really cater to their needs. So this other mural here is a mural that, as you can see in the image, really shows the only way that veterans can return to the US, meaning as the illustration is showing, they can only return to the US at this current moment if they die. So this is one of the difficult conversations that we need to have. And I feel that with this mural specifically, we're highlighting that and then also honoring those who have already passed away, and that we can't forget their names as well. So this is one of my favorite murals because I think it really shocks people in knowing not just the existence of deported veterans and that oxymoron of like having those 2 words together, but then also showing that as the years go by, we're still not doing anything to fix it, even when our government knows about this current issue. And then one of the last murals that has been commissioned by Javier Salazar is this mural dedicated to mujeres. So the women in the lives of many of our fellow immigrants who are part of this project. We really wanted to honor them in not just showing the resilience that they're forced to face, and then also that powerful momentum to heal as well with their community, but also to highlight just this, ambitious goal to really bring back their family members to the US, which is not a very, difficult thing to do, but we do need the support from community and our government and many different people. So in this mural specifically, we see many women. We have hijas del maíz as well. So Joanna, who is also Javier's wife. So we have just different people represented throughout the murals. We wanted to have this to be a collective story that really highlights many things, but at the same time really brings everyone together, which was one of the main points for this project. So now we'll hear from our colleague, Robert. And basically here, we want to highlight these 2 pieces of legislation that we hope folks can really, feel inspired to call their representatives and really urge them to support these 2. So we'll hear from Robert, and then we'll continue with the program.
Hi, my name is Robert with the Leave No One Behind Mural team. The Leave No One Behind Mural project begun as a call to action to remind the Biden administration of their campaign promise to bring deported veterans home and reunite families separated by unjust immigration laws. On February 15, 2021, the campaign was launched with the presence of Congressman Chuy Garcia, who had previously introduced the New Way Forward Act, H.R. 536. After almost 30 plus murals that have been installed coast to coast, on July 2nd, 2021, President Biden issued a directive to the Department of Homeland Secretary, as well as Department of Defense and Veteran Administration Secretaries, to create an initiative in assistance of those deported veterans needing assistance in returning to the United States, as well as seeking their rightly earned Veteran Administration benefits. On February 7, 2022, the Immigrant Military Members and Veteran Initiative was launched with the opening of a website and a portal with those deported veterans, non-immigrant veterans, wishing to be returned to the United States would have access to information on the possibility of their return, as well as accessing their rightfully earned VA benefits. We celebrate and commemorate the 1-year anniversary of the Leave No One Behind Mural project and the rededication of our Leave No One Behind Mural Deported Veteran Project at the Don Diego Veterans of Foreign Wars, Post 7420 Don Diego in San Diego, California. We applaud the Hispanic Caucus as well as the Black Congressional Caucus for supporting the expedite launching of this initiative. This February, along with our anniversary and our rededication ceremony, we also celebrate and honor Black History Month by highlighting our Black deported veterans who have been left out of the immigration discourse. We would like to highlight them and let them know that they are not forgotten. And we call on the Hispanic Caucus, the Black Caucus, and all of the Congress and Senate to continue to support policies such as the Immigrant Military Members and Veterans Initiative. But let's correct this completely by urging the Senate and Congress to enact legislation to correct this injustice. And we are talking about support of H.R. 1182, Veteran Deportation Prevention and Reform Act, as well as the New Way Forward Act, H.R. 1182. We urge members of Congress, members of the Senate, to unite as one and correct this black eye that has been done on U.S. history. Finally, legislation does not have to be complicated. All we need to do is amend 8 U.S.C. Code 1101 Alpha 22, what constitutes loyalty and allegiance of a person to be considered a national if not a citizen of the United States. We know and we understand that how much more can a person prove their loyalty and allegiance by wearing the uniform of the U.S. military and willing to give their life to defend the Constitution of the United States. We ask Congress and the Senate to enact legislation, to move legislation H.R. 1182 and 536 out of committee onto the Senate floor for debate, for passage, and finally on the President's desk for signature.
So we'll make this video available online as well if folks need to hear it again or would like to share it online as well. That would be super helpful for the project. And then now we have an update from our coalition members. Okay, so we'll start with Oliver.
Thank you, Liz, and thank you to everyone who has helped to support this project, to highlight the stories of people who have been deported or were forced to return. You know, on this President's Day, we remember the promises that President Biden made during his campaign, and also what is still yet to be done. As Robert reminded us, there's still also a lot of things that Congress can do. And you know, last year we reintroduced the New Way Forward Act. This is a bold piece of legislation that seeks to decriminalize migration and also repair the harms that have been caused because of the entanglement between the criminal legal system and immigration system. The lead sponsor of New Way Forward is Representative Chuy Garcia, and the co-leads are Representative Jayapal, Presley, and Bass. So we want to thank them, but also, that the campaign itself, the legislation itself is not possible without the support of people all over the country and people in outside of the U.S. also who are fighting for an opportunity to return to their families and their communities in the U.S. And that is a major piece of New Way Forward, that the opportunity to give folks an opportunity to return to the U.S. For many immigrants, any contact with the criminal legal system can put them in deportation proceedings. For example, only 7% of non-citizens in the U.S. are Black, but Black immigrants make up 20% of people facing deportation on criminal grounds. So we see that these criminalizing laws impact Black communities and Black immigrants specifically. And we want to change that. We want to change the double punishment that happens when when an immigrant gets caught in the criminal legal system. Besides the opportunity to return to the U.S., the New Way Forward Act would also end mandatory detention. It would ban for-profit jails. It would restore discretion to immigration judges, and it would also limit the criminal legal system to deportation pipeline. And one of those ways is to prevent local law enforcement from acting as federal immigration agents. So again, today we're reminded still that there's a lot of work to do. So far, there have been 40 representatives in the House of Representatives who have endorsed the legislation, and over 300 organizations have endorsed New Way Forward. So we know that there is tremendous support out there, and we want to thank everyone that has supported the campaign, that has supported this project, and highlighted the stories of people who often we don't talk about. So thank you to everyone, and looking forward to hearing the testimonies today.
Thank you so much, Oliver. And I will hear from Maggie, who is representing ODA.
Hi, everybody. Thank you. Yeah, I'm part of ODA, Otros, and Acción. We're part of the coalition as a member of the Leave No One Behind Mural project, and it's just crazy to see that it's been a year and a lot has been going on. But I think I really want to second a lot of what Oliver has said, and thank you for sharing all the details of the New Way Forward, because I think that at the end of the day, as a grassroots organization based in Mexico, that besides accompanying families who are in crisis because of deportation and forced return, a lot of the work that we do is also around advocacy. And I think in the last year, we are still not seeing what we have been urging the Biden-Harris administration, which is family reunification, which is mobility, which is reparations, accountability. Families continue to be separated. Families continue to be deported. And I think a lot of the work that has been going on in the coalition is very important, because it has really given a lot of visibility to what has happened, and it has been part of many conversations that I think are super necessary. And I just want to really highlight the importance of the New Way Forward as a legislation, but also the project A Chance to Come Home, which is also something that we can urge the Biden-Harris administration to open an office that will not be directed by ICE, but will be directed by DHS, that will allow deported families to submit applications so that they can be reviewed and have a chance to return to their communities in the United States. I think that that is something that we can continue to push, and I'm really urging the communities across the US to continue to seek and reach out to your Congress officials, to your representatives, to share these two pieces that I think are very concrete and can really be something very direct that people can continue to urge the different spaces that they are across the US, because again, a lot of our community on this side in Mexico, but in other parts of the world, continue to feel or continue to be left out from all these conversations. And we are still accompanying families who are in crisis, who have US citizen kids being on the US side, and continue to try to raise them with this border that many times is just impossible. And US citizen kids and youths continue to suffer the consequences of these policies. So I think as an update, I just have to say that we are still in day one trying to push and demand, but I think that we have the energy and we have been organizing, and as Liz and Jenny have shared, we continue to organize with all these murals, with all the support, and I think we're going to keep going, and I think that we're just urging and demanding, and we're not going to stop here. So thank you for these minutes, and I'm really excited to hear the rest and to continue to be part of these efforts that will come our way.
Yes, thank you so much, Maggie. And definitely, right? Like, we haven't seen the change that we've been lobbying for, like, or hopeful for. So it's time for everyone to, think about what else can we do, right? What else can people do and really take action? So now we will hear from Mary, who is a practice professor at Temple University.
Good morning, everyone. I just want to start by saying how pleased I am to be here today to celebrate this wonderful anniversary and to join all of you in calling on President Biden to seal the deal on the repatriation of deported veterans. I am an attorney and a law professor at Temple Law School in Philadelphia. And 2 years ago, I had an opportunity to start a clinic to represent non-citizens and immigrants under orders of removal. My clinic was founded on the idea that if non-citizens have access to high quality legal representation, they can obtain justice. And my theory in that regard has proven true. We have obtained remands in every immigration matter we've handled, except one case in which a client elected to return to his home country. In the course of that work, I had the great privilege of representing Jay Wright, who you will hear from momentarily. Jay is a veteran of the United States Armed Forces and honorably served our country in Afghanistan. Although we ultimately prevailed in his appeal, his case remained pending for 3 years. And for that entire period of time, Jay was detained by ICE. It was truly a team effort to obtain this result. But I will tell you that Jay never wavered in his resolve, and he made great decisions in our case that ultimately led to this positive outcome. Jay's story makes clear that veterans under orders of removal who have access to good quality lawyers can obtain justice. Unfortunately, I'm sad to report that high quality, affordable counsel is still sorely lacking in this country. However, law schools are a fertile source of legal talent that can be tapped into. Many law schools offer legal clinics like mine, or otherwise have incredibly bright, incredibly talented students who are passionate about this work and willing to volunteer and otherwise advocate for this community. So I urge everyone on today's call to consider reaching out to law schools in your area to see what opportunities may be available to partner with them on advocating for deported veterans and to increase access to high quality legal representation. Thank you for allowing me to speak here today.
Thank you so much, Mary. And definitely, I second that. If there's a university next to you, especially like in the UC system in California, reach out. Maybe their law school has a clinic or an immigration clinic that can really support, and you can find ways to support as well. So now we'll hear from James from Veterans for Peace.
Good morning, good morning. When I first heard about the deported veterans issue about 9 years ago, the hope or the thought at that time was that this would be addressed and corrected in short time. Yet we sit here today, a convention of Davids facing Goliath. In my research, I found the Deported Veterans Support House, the Bunker, Unified U.S. Deported Veterans, Veterans for Peace, the ACLU, and a small assortment of law firms, advocates, and individuals over the past 14 years have fought in support of the deported veteran. Yet, as I said, we sit here today. During this time, I noticed the trickle back of a few deported veterans, some alive, most not. I felt hope when I saw what I thought would be a sympathetic promise on an easily correctable situation the moment Senator Tammy Duckworth proposed corrections to such a dishonorable act. But alas, the cries of thousands has been largely ignored. We've had two presidents, Bush and Obama, address this issue with executive order. Yet for some reason, the DOD and the majority of Congress, sans Padilla, Takano, and Garcia, seem to ignore addressing the issue. Why? Over the past year, I've been re-engaged in trying to bring awareness to the outrageousness of having such a status as deported veteran existing. I traveled to Washington, D.C., and while there in support of VFP, I discovered the existence of other organizations like Repatriate Our Patriots, Leave No One Behind Mural Project, and DVAP, Deported Veterans Advocacy Project. Meeting representatives from these organizations, a rep from Chuy Garcia's office who brought the awareness of the first woman veteran identified to be deported, Ms. Laura Meza, to me and many others, and speaking firsthand with two of whom I consider the shock troops of the movement, Jesus Manuel Valenzuela and Cesar Nunez. I left DC inspired to learn more and advocate better. So I traveled the country with Manny in his RV of justice, where I am right now, speaking to all kinds of people. I spoke to all colors, rural and city, Republican, Democrat, whatever. From interviews at a biker rally to an evening encounter with the couple that marched on the Capitol on January 6th, I found not one person that didn't find this situation to be horribly wrong. So when the Biden administration made its announcement concerning pathways for reentry, a new wave of hope began to rise. When I discovered that Congressman Mondaire Jones of New York had represented the Black Caucus in a letter to President Biden addressing the Black deported veteran, I felt like, wow, things are really starting to get moving. Well, to be honest, they have. Even before the institution of the portal, the rate of the trickle had increased, but not for the Black deported veteran. Though every deported veteran suffers the exile away from their American homesteads, the Black deported veteran, along with others that don't share borders or easier access to borders with the U.S., are at more of a disadvantage. Whether intentioned or not, out of sight, out of mind could hauntingly be the reason for this oversight. Over the past few months, a group of us have come together to represent Black deported veterans. We are in solidarity with all of our deported veteran brethren around the globe. We believe that by making it known that the Black deported veteran exists, that we can help raise the awareness of the overall deported veteran plight. And we encourage other advocacy groups, cultural, ethnic, religious, whatever, to join us at the Deported Veterans Advocacy Project and bring home our vets. Today, you will have the opportunity to be introduced to a few of the Black deported veterans in our group. I promise you, you will find that the character of these individuals outweighs the cause for exile. Thank you.
Yeah. I was talking to Hector last week.
Thank you so much, James. I think you made some great important points that this mural project would not be possible without Manny's RV Without Cesar's commitment to go to Washington, D.C., Veterans for Peace, and so many other groups, right, that have made this possible. So thank you so much, James. Also want to thank again the coalition. I want to just name all the coalition members really quickly. We're represented by Unified U.S. Deported Veteran Resource Center, Repatriate Our Patriots, the New Way Forward Coalition Campaign, Deported Veteran Support House, Juarez Bunker, the Veterans for Peace, Otros Dreams en Acción, Immigration Justice Network, Humanizing Deportation, Deportados Unidos en la Lucha, Veterans for Peace, Sergeant Barrios Memorial Chapter, a Merry Mex Dream en Acción, Borderline Crisis Center, Meta Peace Team in Detroit, Michigan, Michigan Coalition for Human Rights, Michigan Poor People's Campaign, Military Families Speak Out, Friends of Friendship Park, Día Internacional Café, Playas de Tijuana Mural Project, Reclaim the Dream Border Network for Human Rights, and Desolate Scene. And there's many other organizations like Las Americas in El Paso, Queer Bar Association, Veterans Nonprofit that have been supporting us the whole way. And again, our reach would not be possible without the support of folks on the ground. So thank you again. I also wanted to go back to one point that Professor Levy made about legal representation. This is a huge need among the communities, among our storytellers, especially now that the Biden-Harris administration have made some initial steps to bring back deported veterans and support them in their benefit accessibility. It's important that we create pro bono attorneys that can help them in this process. One thing we know is that immigration policy is difficult. The laws are tough to navigate. And so it's important that veterans and military families are connected to legal resources to make this process accessible to them. So one of the resulting pieces from this 100 days of advocacy that many of our coalition members and supporters and allies joined in was on July 2nd of 2021. Secretary Mayorkas said that they initiated a task force to bring deported veterans home. And one of the resulting pieces is a portal that is now available for all deported veterans, immigrant veterans, and their family members. We want to encourage all of you to sign up for IMVETS. That's the name of the portal. The website is www.dhs.gov/IMMVets. And this is one way that DHS and the task force tasked with this job of bringing deported veterans back home is trying to get a tally of deported veterans' needs and trying to create the resources and support to bring back deported veterans and stop the deportation of veterans. So please, when you have a moment, make sure that you fill out the portal. There are organizations like Repatriate Our Patriots, ACLU SoCal, public defenders, many different organizations are providing support. If you need help filling out this application, reach out to those organizations that you trust so that you could get some support if you need any technology support to get through this application. But again, this is the first step. This is one way that we're tallying the numbers. As you recall, in 2016, the GAO office reported that, we have no idea how many veterans have been deported, right? So this is one of the first steps to get a tally, get data on the needs of immigrant veterans. So make sure that, you fill this out, write down this list. And if you know any other deported veterans that need support either with benefits or trying to naturalize, come back, make sure you come back or make sure you fill this out. So with that, I'm gonna go ahead and introduce storytellers. Our first storyteller is John Wright. He's gonna be talking about his story here that happened recently. So Jay, the mic is moving.
Jay's good. Thank you. Hello, everybody. Thank you for having me. Like she said, my name is Jean-Claude Wright. I don't like to say detained. I like to say I was taken right? I don't think it's something that I volunteered for. So I was taken into ICE custody. I want to say November 20th, 2018. After finishing my sentence for the crime that I committed, and I did what I did, take responsibility. After finishing my sentence, I'm thinking, okay, I'm going to go home. I'm going to start my life over. I'm going to do what I got to do to make things right. And ICE takes me. I sat in Essex County for, wow, I want to say a good year and a half before they moved us. Nothing about ICE detention is fun. Nothing about ICE detention is entertaining. It's the worst type of thing you could experience. It's psychological warfare at its finest. It will take you through highs and lows. It'll put you in the most depressing states you've ever been in your life. And you get to a place where you just want it to end and you think your only recourse is to just sign away your rights and go home. Who cares what happens to me? I don't care. And then there comes a place where you get angry. And as a veteran, I got angry because I served in the United States Air Force for 6 years. I was honorably discharged. I did my part, right? I showed my loyalty. So I'm looking up these different laws and I'm finding different stuff. And I'm like, wait a minute, if I'm a veteran, why am I even here? And when I was moved to Bergen County, I spoke to an ICE agent. I told him, I'm trying to get my medical benefits situated. You know, I suffer from PTSD and I'm trying to get these things situated. He says to me, you're a veteran? I'm like, yes. He says, you're not supposed to be here. Why are you here? Why am I here? You're the ICE agent. You should know this. So that started a whole new thing. And it was just very stressful. It was very stressful because I didn't know how to deal with it. And like Mary said, when you don't have the resources, when you don't have the knowledge of what you're going through, you don't understand how to fight, it becomes very cumbersome because at this point, you're just lost. You're just in the wind. And I'm fortunate. I'm one of the fortunate individuals that had someone like Mary and the other people that work with her to help me to get me to where I am now, that I can sit here and speak to you, that I can sit here and tell you, yeah, I made it and I'm home, you know, and I get to hug my mom, and I get to hug my daughter, but so many vets don't have that. And they're still sitting in their home, you know, in their other home countries wondering, what am I worth? What was the time that I gave America? What was the time that I gave and I sacrificed? What did it mean? If it means that I'm just trash and I can be thrown away, that I can just be put aside and cast aside because I'm unimportant. And it goes back, you know, to what James was saying, on top of it being Black and being American soldiers that fought for this country, you look back in 250 years of every single war, Black men have fought in each and every single war. And we've been treated as second-class citizens for every war. We go off and we help win a war and we come back and we're still no one. And in 2022, it still should not be happening. Why is it happening? So you're faced with this place where you're confused and then you're angry and you don't know how to channel it. And when you're in that detention, it just destroys your psyche. It just breaks you down and you start questioning yourself and you start beating yourself up. I'm just very fortunate and very blessed that, like I said, you know, Mary and students that work with her were able to get me home. And I think about it every day. I think about the people that I left behind, you know, veteran and non-veteran. I think about them. I wonder what they're doing and how they're coping and what I can do to help. It eats at me, you know, it eats at me every day because you get that survivor's remorse, you know, that guilt, like I shouldn't be here. There's other people that deserve more. So you just want to find a way to do it. And I just hope that this gets passed and it helps people. In a perfect world, I should be abolished. It should be done with, because I don't believe that another country would take an American citizen and hold them in a cell. America would be up in arms and ready for war. So why are we doing it to our own people? Why are we doing it to our own veterans? When we're laying our lives down, we're laying our lives down so you could treat us like this. How is that fair? So I hope this gets passed, and you know, I pray that it works out, because it has to stop. It just has to.
Preach. Preach.
Thank you so much, Jay.
Appreciate it.
I think, you know, you're really touching on how this is still happening right now, even though we have the Biden-Harris doing some efforts to stop the deportation of veterans. It's still happening on the ground. So the message needs to continue, right? Up next, we have Rudi Ackerman Richardson from the U.S. Army, who served in the U.S. Army. So Rudi, tell us. You're on mute, Rudi.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. First of all, I just want to thank you for inviting me to this forum. I'm just going to speak from the heart. You know, I was deported 19 years ago, and that was in 2003. And I couldn't flip and believe it. I mean, okay. You know, I was an addict back then. I, you know, had bipolar, I still do. So I was all over the place. And so I kept doing petty thefts, and they became petty thefts with a prior, which turned into a felony. So I got deported because I stole a coffee maker. Imagine that, a coffee maker, and they deported me. Now they went back 19 years and took a robbery. It was a strong arm robbery that I didn't even commit, but because of a deal and rotting in the LA County jail for 60 days, what it was, I was manic and I had a bipolar episode, and it scared the man, but he turned around and lied and said I robbed him. But what I'm saying is, so they stick a 20-year-old strong arm robbery charge that I didn't even do on top of me stealing a coffee maker. So I'm like in the county jail. I'm not believing any of this horse shit. So what do I see? I see this deportation letter. They get to me and they said, you're deported in absentia, meaning you're deported, it's all over. And guess what? The train is fucking coming. I'm sorry for my language, but I'm just going to speak from the heart. So what happens? I'm in Chino, boom. I think maybe I might slip through the cracks and they might let me go. But what comes up? An immigration van puts me in an orange jumpsuit, boom, takes me out to Terminal Island. So I'm there, bam, no legal assistance at all. There was no lawyer, no nothing. I didn't know what to do. My daughter comes, right? Through a glass window, I'm looking at her, tears coming from her eyes and tears coming out of mine. I couldn't even fucking, what did I do? I could not fucking believe it. And then my dad, he comes. He's lost about 100-something pounds, dying of cancer. I just couldn't goddamn believe it. They're gonna just deport me to Germany, to a fucking country that I haven't been to and I couldn't even speak the fucking language. And then when I got to the fucking country, the first thing that they did is they called me out the fucking plane. There were 5 policemen there. What a fucking reception. I get deported, there's 5 German motherfucking police there. They interrogate me for 2-3 fucking hours and send me to a goddamn homeless situation in some fucking park called Ofts Park. What the fuck was I supposed to do? So I come to London, broke, busted, and motherfucking disgusted. Not a penny in my pocket. The reason why I came to London is because I couldn't speak German. And to be quite honest, they're not really amenable to black folks in Germany. White folks is running that country. I'm telling it like it is. So I go to England, try to have some semblance of a fucking life, right? So I come here, homeless, busted, but thank God, the United Kingdom compared to the United States, at least the United Kingdom treats you like a fucking human being here. It's a land of fucking second chances. I got off the streets. I got into recovery, got myself together. My saving grace was to operate and build a charity to help other people in similar situations that are homeless and mental health and this and that. That's been my fucking salvation. Otherwise, I'd have killed myself long fucking time ago. Now I want to say thank you to 3 people that's close to my heart. One is Alex Murillo, the other one is Hector Lopez, and the other one is Hector Barajas. They found me. I didn't even know you guys fucking existed. They found me. right? So, and when they did, I said, at least I'm not alone, you know what I mean? So I went to Tijuana and I spent some time there. And they welcomed me with open arms, Alex and Hector. And I was kind of in a manic phase because of my bipolar, so I was probably all over the place there, but it really touched my heart. But the most thing that broke my heart was when I had to stand and see the fence on the other side. And I knew that my house was two hours away, and I knew I wasn't going to be able to go to it. That broke my heart. So here I am, right? 66 years old. You think I have faith in the system? Fuck no, I don't. I appreciate all you guys, what you've done. I have faith in you, but I don't have faith in the system, and I don't have the faith in the government or the Senate or any of them people. To me, I don't think they give a damn about us, really. However, moving right along, what keeps me going? Well, I'll tell you what keeps me going. Is that I try to be of service to people less fortunate than myself. That's my salvation, and that's what keeps me going. And all this dribble effect where, one or two come in and, fuck that. Either you fucking bring us all back home, or you can take it and shove it up your motherfucking ass. Because I'm just tired of it. It should be point blank. Bring us the fuck home. No more fucking dribbles. Because what it does, it just breaks other people's hearts because they're like, oh, well, he got in. What the fuck about me? It's like a two-edged sword. Yeah, we're grateful that one comrade made it over, but what the fuck about the rest of us? I'm 66 years old. I done had a heart attack. What am I gonna wind up in a fucking casket? And I done already told my children, I said, if you ever bury me and have a VA thing, make sure you don't put that flag in my motherfucking coffin. I don't fucking want it there because you didn't fucking respect me. And how the hell do you think I'm gonna respect you? That's it.
Thank you, Rudi. Thank you. And yeah, this is just a reminder that these stories are not easy to retell, right? And reliving the pain and trauma. It's not here for a spectacle, but it's important to make it known that these laws remove the essence of folks, right? Identity. It strips people of identity.
Rudi, love you, brother.
Yeah.
Thank you for sharing your truth, Rudi.
You're welcome. Thank you. Thank you, Alex.
Bye, Rudi.
Thank
you,
Rudi. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Rudi. So now we're gonna go on to David Biru. He also served in the U.S. Army. He enlisted in '98, finished in 2001. He was living in Irving, Texas, and was deported to Kenya back in 2008. I also just want to make a quick point that you can read all of the folk stories on our website, leavenooneBehindMuralProject.org. David. Oh.
Hi there. My name is David Kenyo Biru. I was born in June 20th, 1976. I am currently 42 years old. I was recruited to join the U.S. Armed Forces, active duty, via MEP Station, downtown Dallas. I went to my basic training at Fort Benning, Georgia. My unit was 347 Charlie Rock, Infantry Unit, 4th Platoon. I thereafter went to Fort Lee, Virginia for my AIT, specialized as a 92 Alpha Automated Logistics Specialist. After graduation, I was stationed at Fort Lewis, Washington State. My unit was HHC 593rd CSG. I was honorably discharged September 2001 and a recipient of an Army Achievement Medal. I later joined the U.S. Air Force Reserve 2002. I went for my AFSC training at Shepherd Air Force Base as a surgical tech. Thereafter, a couple of years later, I upgraded to optometry tech, and my ranking was up to a tech sergeant in the Air Force Reserve. While still serving in the U.S. Air Force Reserve, ICE came to my residence April 2007. They detained me. They took my credentials, certifications, uniforms. I used to live alone, not married at that point in time. I was detained in Haskell, Texas for 1 year, cell 3B. Thereafter, in April 2008, I was able.
So it looks like the video ended, but David, we have David here with us. So David, if you want to add to what we just heard.
Oh, thank you very much. All I can say is that I've said a couple of things there, but I can add to what is going on currently. In this Black History Month, Black US deported veterans are a shadow and plight of the occasion, but we are worth being recognized for our cry to be heard and supported by the country we served and protected. We suffer in different capacities, and we are stretched thin emotionally and mentally to support our families and ourselves. I was recruited into the US Army with my F1 student visa by a recruiter whose goal was to meet his recruitment quota. The recruiter's greed was finally caught up with him when he was court-martialed at Fort Hood, Texas, and found guilty of fraudulently recruiting international students, promising us free education and naturalization, respectively. Despite of my achievements in the US Armed Forces, having no convictions, no felons, after accumulated many skill sets in the US Army Armed Forces, and a last-minute Dallas ICE cancellation of my first naturalization attempt before the interview, I was still deported to Kenya. Dallas ICE raiding officers at my apartment in Texas saw them confiscate my military certifications and my VA medical card. Being deported to Kenya, it is a diverse country when it comes to religion, and a deported US veteran with my status makes me a positive target to Muslim radicals in the region. These radicals have terrorized schools, malls, public transportation, and the most horrific day was when they bombed the Kenyan embassy in 1998, which saw a substantial number of fatalities to local citizens, American citizens at the embassy, and most importantly, the US soldiers who were serving and protecting the US embassy. And my family also has been affected by the influx of job opportunities in Kenya. Moving from one town to another is exhausting. The well-off companies in Kenya are Muslim-oriented, and it becomes a dilemma for me when searching for work. These shortcomings have led me to be stressed out and isolated in different occasions, not knowing what the future holds for my family safety. I get little assistance from my deported affiliated friends to see me through these setbacks, but in the reality of things, I need substantial assistance from the VA to secure claims and benefits in relation to the above hardships. Last but not least, our leaders representing US citizens in Congress and Senate should not entertain the deportation of US veterans in hostile environments. This has evidently put deported veterans in harm's way and has embarrassed the country internationally by exposing the discrimination of people of color despite of serving and protecting the Constitution of the United States of America. Mr. President, the Commander-in-Chief of the United States of America, Mr. Joe Biden, and his cabinet, you have this opportunity to support repatriation of deported US veterans to the country they serve. We've seen a step of having the IMVETS, the Immigrant Military Members and Veterans Initiative, which will see deported US veterans get back home as soon as possible. But also we've seen the coalition of the Congressional Black and Hispanic Caucus for joining forces to support the HR 536 and the 1182 to see the journey of deported US veterans justified respectively. You've heard from one of my deported veterans, Rudi. We are stretched thin. We suffer in different capacities out here. And we just need to be heard. So for the Black deported US veterans, we need to learn from this journey and embrace the sovereignty of true believers that God's prayers are always answered. Amen to all, and thank you for listening.
Thank you so much, David. I think you really highlighted different intersections that are unrecognized, and really appreciate you bringing that to light and centering those stories of what you're experiencing in Kenya. And next, we're gonna hear a video from Charsley Severin. He served in the US Army. He enlisted in 1996 on through 2005. His hometown is in South Florida, and he was deported to Dominica Island in 2020.
Everyone, my name is Charsley Carl Severin. I was deported in 2011. I came to the United States when I was very young, about 5 years old. My mom and my 4 brothers and my dad, we moved to the United States. I went to New York City and Manhattan, 147th Street between Broadway and Amsterdam. I attended PS 153 Elementary School. I spent about 11 years in New York, and then I moved down to South Florida in 1991. I graduated high school and worked for a little bit, and then I went to the United States Army. I did it because I wanted to serve. I was a star athlete in high school, and I wanted to serve. It was the right thing to do, and I felt pride and to join the United States military. I got out the military, and I found myself in a little bit of trouble. It was actually a false charge of resisted arrest with violence, which was an altercation that happened, and I called the police, and I was arrested for verbal assault, and then a false charge of resisted arrest with violence, which I never resisted, and When I went to court, I was offered a plea offer, but I wanted to fight the charge. I was advised by my public defender to take the plea, which I did not know was a deportable charge. I took 14 months in FSP, Florida State Prison, and I was taken into ICE custody where I was put into removal proceedings. I tried to reopen my case, and I spent 3 years in immigration trying to reopen my case, and then was deported in 2011. Since my deportation, I was sent back to an island, a third world island that I have no recollection of or remember. I'm going through extreme hardship and persecution on the account of my American culture, my American speech, accent, and I'm faced with a lot of uncivilized and undeveloped country, and I'm facing a lot of persecution. It's ripping me apart. I don't know anyone here. I have all my family, including my aunts and my uncles in the United States, and my cousins, my 4 brothers, my nieces, and my nephews. Out of the 5 brothers that I have, 5 of us, out of 5 brothers, 4 of us have served in the United States military. And 1 brother of mine, my younger brother, is still serving in the United States Air Force, along with my niece and my nephew and my other nephew in the United States Navy. I was honorably discharged from the United States Army, and I'm asking, please, please allow us to come back home. I take great pride and honor and respect, and also remorse for the situation that has happened. But I feel that this is a very unfair thing to do to someone. It's inhumane and unjust, and I'm greatly suffering. And I would just like to ask, please allow us to return home. I can't support myself. I'm going through a traumatic ordeal. I can't find work, and there's little or no work on this island. It's really an inhumane thing to do. Someone to live here would have to be moved here on their own, or a vacation, or I have to been raised here. Like I said, I'd just like to say thank you. Thank you for everyone that's trying to help. And one day I pray that the decision will be made for us to return home. It's the right thing to do. Thank you. God bless you. God bless my home, the United States of America.
Thank you so much, Charsley, and thank you so much, everyone, for staying tuned. I know we're a little bit over time. We have a few more storytellers, and as you could see, our physical event in San Diego is getting ready to launch here in a second. So we're going to get through as fast as possible. But next, we have a testimony from Gene Dorsainvil. He served in the USMC. And he enlisted in 1980. His hometown is Queens.
My name is Charsley.
And he was deported to Haiti in 2006. And I'm sharing my screen here. I'll just make it big. And we'll get this. We'll hear his testimony here. Are you able to hear his voice?
No, it's muted on the Facebook.
I'm signed up to Harold Dorsainvil. I'm from Haiti. I was born in Haiti. I entered the United States in September of 1968, which I did 38 years in the States. So my education and everything is in the States. I joined the Marines, signed up since 1980 to 1983. All my education is in the U.S. Right now I'm living in Haiti. I've been deported back since 2006. I've been doing social work all over Haiti. If you look at my Facebook page, it'd be Gene Dorsainvil. with the cream suit on. You'll see one that have the Marines uniform. The reason why I changed that because they had some other people that had almost the same account as I had, so I had to change it. I've been doing social work, health fairs, clinic mobiles, and everything. I believe there are things that happened in the past to me that was supposed to happen, and I'm a missionary. That's why God sent me here to Haiti to give back for all the faults that I did in my life. I'm not going to say sorry that things that happened because they had to happen so I could be in a situation where I'm at right now, so I could see definitely what I'm supposed to do in my life. Like I said, I've been doing Haiti social work. I believe, I know I will be going back. I lost like 20 family members since I've been in Haiti. And it really hurts that I lost them, but there's nothing could be done right now. All I wanted the chance to go back to the cemetery, see the ones that passed away, and still hug and kisses the one that's still left behind. I want to say thank you for everybody that's fighting for us, for the vets. Like I say, I know I'm a missionary, and my redemption started off in Hades to see what I was doing in my life and how I could come and change. I made a lot of promises to people in Haiti that I would help and give all my force and strength to help them. So I want to be turning my back on them, just like I made the mistakes in my life that made me turn my back on my family, loved ones in the States. I know the dream will come true. I will be going back to the States. But in a lifetime, I really want to stay here in Haiti, go back and forth, do fundraisings to help the people in the population in Haiti. Then after that, so I could spread out and help the other Caribbean islands and the poor countries to achieve their goals. Again, thank you for all the people that's fighting for us, and we will see each other soon. One love, peace. I want to say good morning to everybody. My name.
Okay, thank you. And now thank you so much. So that completes our storytellers, our Black supported veteran storytellers. Thank you again so much for bringing to light your voices and your stories. Now we're going to continue with the program and hear from Laura Meza. She served in the U.S. Army. She was deported to Costa Rica, and she is one of the women deported veterans that we know about. We know there are more, and we are just really thankful that she's been sharing her story with us. So, Laura. You're on mute, Laura.
There we go. Hi, everyone. How are you doing today? I didn't really have something to say much about all the details and get into the nitty gritty about everything that happened to me because I'm just starting to be able to deal with this more. I just know that we all have a lot in common. We've all gone through a lot. We've all made mistakes. I think we're all changed people at some point. We all have different stories, but I have compassion and sympathy for all the other stories and the things that people are going through. I have the same vision as you guys, as this Leave No Man Behind Mural project, which is for the politicians and the Biden-Harris administration to look at, getting us back home. We're patrioting the patriots and also making easier immigration laws or more feasible. So there's a due process of immigration and you don't go from prison, that pipeline, is closed all the way, directly to the immigration court and deported right away. I have 100% PTS disability here. And, when I was brought back from Iraq, I didn't realize what was going on with me. I didn't even realize many things, that I was even date raped till years later when I saw that, if someone puts some type of drug in your drink and you pass out, even if you voluntarily went to his room or whatever, you didn't consent to what, you didn't remember, you didn't know what happened, you just passed out, you wake up. This is hard for me say in front of so many people, but you wake up naked and you were stripped of your pride and dignity for the first time. And being my Latino culture, it was very hard on me, all these things. After that, shortly after that, I was taken to Iraq. There was a mass casualty. I mean, I was getting mortar bombed every day in Balad, Anaconda, but then, we went to Al Nazariya shortly afterwards, and it's crazy, but I can't remember everything in detail. I just remember a lot of chaos, a lot of wounded and injured soldiers, Italians, some from England, some civilians, Iraqi civilians, a dead infant baby that I carried. I mean, there's so many things that I pushed away, and I push away this whole thing about the deportation. I haven't been getting involved, not because I don't care, but because it's just something that's so touchy. Right now, just watching all of you talk, it's incredible to see all the stories, the amazing people that God put on this earth, all you guys that are working for this, advocating for us, and that have such great hearts that, want to push and make this happen, that, we reunite with our families. I want to cry. I don't want to say I'm a woman, so I'm going to cry, because that may sound a little sexist, and it doesn't make sense to say that, because we all cry, women, men. And it's hurtful. It's hurtful to see that all of us have been separated from our families, that we're all hurting. Well, exception of the case of the other brother, that, luckily he's still there with his family, but, he hurt. He was away from his family for 3 years as well. And, I wrote something up that I wanted to share today. It's something, having to do with President's Day. And it's like this: on this President's Day, I wish to say a few words to honor two of our country's most eccentric and unconventional presidents, such as were George Washington and Abraham Lincoln. First, George Washington, a humble farmer who was known as the father of this great nation, and a courageous man who led the Continental Army to victory in the American Revolutionary War. Then Abraham Lincoln, known as Honest Abe, whom on January 1st, 1863, issued the Emancipation Proclamation to end slavery. You all may ask, what do these two presidents have in common? And this is what I came up with. They were not known for conforming to the general public, because they did what they believed deep down inside was right and just. Today, on this President's Day, in which we celebrate the lives and birthday of all US presidents, as well as Mr. Biden's, I ask you, Mr. Biden, to help protect the immigrants who in fact helped build and defend this nation we call the United States of America, by stopping the separation of families and repatriating our patriots lost in exile.
Thank you so much, Laura. Really appreciate all the points that you made, that, military vets, they're not only battling the PTSD from deportation, but also from their service, right? And so thank you again for sharing your story. Now we're gonna hear from Madai. Madai Zamora, she is part of the deported and returned community. She's in our Mexico City mural, and she is with Otros Dreams and Acción as well, and she does some great advocacy. So Madai, thank you.
Hello, everyone. My name is Madai. I was not a veteran, was never in the Army, but I am a early childhood arrival. I was taken to the United States because I did not decide to go. I was taken at the age of 3. I lived 10 years in California and 11 years in North Carolina. And in 2012, I had decided to leave Mexico because I was so discouraged, because as a average student, I didn't see how I could go to college being undocumented. And then DACA came out. And I remember that day very clearly, where everyone around me was so happy and excited and telling me that I didn't have to leave my home, that I didn't have to go back to where my parents brought me from. And I remember thinking, okay, but that's an executive order. What's going to happen 4 years from now when Obama's no longer president? And in Spanish, we say dicho y hecho. That's exactly what happened. 4 years passed. I was in my senior year in college. I went to an HBCU actually. So it makes me very happy to see that we're bringing light to Black veterans. And in college, I actually did one of my research papers on deported veterans. And it blew my mind in my research how so many people did not know that that was a thing. And when I presented it, they were like, wow, that's really a thing. Like, yeah, that's really a thing. And so being part of this project and being in Mexico now, I decided to leave because even though I had DACA and I was, protected from deportation, the uncertainty that loomed over my head as a DACA recipient, knowing that Trump, his mission was to take it away. And for a moment, he stopped DACA, and just having that uncertainty of not knowing what to do, and these politicians constantly playing with us, constantly promising us a pathway to citizenship, just playing with us, toying with us, like if we aren't people that deserve to be with our families, like if we aren't humans that deserve to live in the place that we grew up, in the place that we called home. And so I decided to leave because I could not deal with the anxiety. I cannot deal with the thought of losing a family member to deportation, because even though I was protected from DACA, not everyone in my family was. And so I left, and now I live in family separation because the majority of my family is in the States. I lost my father in 2020 due to COVID, and I wasn't there. So I am happy to be part of this project because I get to share and spread this message of family reunification and push the current administration and any administration that comes to push for these legislations, to let these veterans go home, to let all of us go home and have mobility so we can hug and see all our loved ones. So thank you guys for letting me be part of your guys' space.
Thank you so much, Madai, for that amazing testimony and sharing your story with us today. And then for one of our final speakers, we're getting near the end here. I want to invite Veronica Castro to the mic. Veronica is a spouse of a veteran, and she also takes care of 2 disabled children here, US born children, and she is actually in the removal program. So Veronica.
Hola, buenas tardes. Mi nombre es Veronica Castro. Como les comenté, mi esposo es un veterano Army. Él le dieron medical discharge. Tenemos dos hijos con necesidades especiales. Otros 2 de nuestros hijos están saludables. Y mi esposo también, él tiene el post-trauma, tiene diabetes, tiene depresión y mi familia está sufriendo mucho por mi deportación, y mi esposo ya tiene un plan B. Si en caso de que a mí me deportaran, estamos invirtiendo en México en terrenos, porque todas las administraciones no han hecho nada por mi familia. No les interesan las familias de los veteranos. No, y hemos ido muchas veces a hablar con congresistas, senadores, y nomás escriben y no hacen nada. Y el único que me ha apoyado es mi congresista donde vivo, porque el senador no quiso apoyarme, y él es demócrata y no quiso apoyar a mi familia. Y estamos muy desilusionados con este sistema roto de migración que no está haciendo nada por las familias y por nuestros veteranos, ni por nuestros dreamers. Tampoco están haciendo nada. Y estamos ya cansados, frustrados de qué va a pasar en mi familia con mi situación. Y con nuestros niños que tienen discapacidad, vamos a tener que ir a México a vivir para poder, ya lo que nos quede de vida, ya vivir un poco en paz, sin la preocupación de que un día nos toque la puerta ICE y me lleven y mis hijos miren este dolor que estamos pasando. Porque cuando mi esposo se fue a su misión a Corea, mis hijos pensaron que mi esposo lo iban a... pensaron mis hijos que mi esposo los había abandonado, y ahora si me separan de ellos, no quiero que vivan ese sufrimiento de que mis hijos piensen que yo los voy a abandonar. Muchas gracias y aprecio a todos, que Dios los bendiga y, que Dios los bendiga y muchísimas gracias por todo su apoyo.
Muchísimas gracias, Veronica. And maybe Leslie could help me translate here, but she is mentioning how her husband is a veteran and they've been waiting on so many administrations to do something. She has 4 children, 2 of them born here in the US, 2 of them with a disability, and they're living in fear every day. And she's tired of waiting. So her and her family are figuring out how they could resettle in Mexico, just so she doesn't have to live in fear anymore of ICE coming to the window and knocking. And she's worked with her Congress people in her state, but to nothing, right? To no avail. So muchas gracias, Veronica and Liz. I don't know if you want to add to that.
Yeah, so as Veronica mentioned, right, the fact that she reached out to her representatives and then one of them decided not to support her. So that also shows how our immigration system is broken, right? And that there are people who are willing to help, but overall, the support that we really need is not there. It's lacking. So thank you. Muchas gracias, Verónica, por compartir su historia y nos mantiene informada en cómo le podemos ayudar también.
Oh, muchísimas gracias. ¿Puedo agregar algo rapidito? Aplicó mi abogado para acción diferida porque en la administración de Donald Trump me la quitaron y ya van 6 meses que mi abogado aplicó y hasta ahorita el departamento de ICE no tenemos respuesta ni por permiso de trabajo ni nada. Está todo muy, muy calladito y nadie está haciendo nada por nuestra familia y estamos como muy frustrados. ¿Qué va a pasar?
Yeah, Veronica's mentioning that her and her attorney filed for deferred action and they haven't heard anything. She said everything is very quiet and she's just, again, really frustrated of waiting. Y Verónica, nuevamente creo que este es un buen momento de decirte que apliques en MVET, el portal que hicieron, porque creo que allí es donde están recibiendo la información de los veteranos y familias para tratar de ayudar, pero podemos hablar después. So for those listeners, be sure to fill out MVET if you need support with naturalization or benefits. And then finally, to close us out, to close out the storytellers, we want to invite Alex Murillo to the mic. Alex has been a huge advocate for years. He was deported from Phoenix, where he still has all of his family there. So Alex, why don't you tell us a little bit about your story?
Thank you, Jenny. Hi, everybody. Alex Murillo, U.S. Navy veteran. I am from Phoenix, Arizona. I've been deported now a decade here in the Tijuana, Rosarito area. So it's been a decade, and it's been a brothers that have passed. Never making it home. We have had some victories, some successes, guys getting home, and we've had guys be able to go home and die the next day. Like there's been so many stories, but finally after all this time, it looks like the tide may be turning in our direction, and in major part, I do believe it is because of this campaign that we did, the Leave No One Behind campaign. We put the first 100 days pressure on the administration. The way that these murals are going up across the country. Also, the stories that are connected to these murals, they have to connect with people. They have to, because that's who we are. We are the people of America that they have exiled. Now, as a veteran, as a U.S. Navy veteran, and as soldiers that we are deported, we've worn that uniform. So that 1% or that less than 1% of Americans will do that. Will take that oath. Will wear that uniform. But there's also another thing that we're representing here with these murals is we're representing all the other Americans that also wore a uniform in America, as a baker, as a mechanic, as a gardener. these are Americans that wore the American uniform, that paid their taxes, that build their families, and they are also in many ways soldiers for America, because that's all we are. That's, I mean, since I was little, the thing that I remember that they taught me in school is that we get our strength from our diversity, from all our immigrants. That's where we get our strength. That's what America was always to me. Now I don't know where or when we lost that, somewhere along the way, but we need to get back to it. And I think what we're doing here is important, and I think it is going to make a big change, and it's going to change a lot of people's lives. I'm honored, I'm privileged to be a part of it. Thank you guys so much for having me, and I'm in the fight with you guys all the way. Thank you.
Thank you, Alex, for that important reminder, right? That we all wear a uniform here in this country, right? And contributions from community members all across. And it's important to keep that in mind as well in our advocacy. Well, now it's time to unveil our latest mural. So first, I just wanted to tell you a little bit about our artist, and actually Liz has the mural here. This is our Black deported veteran mural. This was created by Jelani Latif Abdul. He is a Southern California native with a background in a wide variety of art forms, including music, film, theater, painting, dance, martial arts, illustration, and creative writing. His education ranges from fine arts to traditional animation. He has served as an enrichment specialist in the arts and arts therapist in NYC, Bay Area, and Los Angeles, San Bernardino, and other counties in California. As a visual artist, his work has been shown in the same cities and communities as mentioned just a second ago. He says that as a son of an educator and a probation officer, his upbringing has exposed him to the complexities of what community service and working within the system looks like, especially for people of color. This peculiar experience has led him to commit to use his artistic expression and gifts to address the concerns of the world around him. So he made this mural. He actually met with several deported veterans and got to know their stories. Similar to what you've heard today, he didn't know that this was occurring, and so there was a visceral, reaction when he learned that deported veterans were being deported. And he actually wrote a statement for us, and I'm just gonna read that out loud really quickly. He says that for him, the process of creating this art wasn't what he expected. He walked into the project thinking that he could add some stylistic flavor until he understood what the veterans were going through. But once he was informed, a sadness attached himself to the art. He had limited supplies and reference photos to work with, so he settled with a mock propaganda poster for the military. The soldiers don't look like they're happy to be enlisted, as if something is wrong. He tried to convey the aspects of their experiences through the emotions that surface in their faces. The truth is that stories impacted me, and I couldn't shake it off, and I chose to be true to the way I felt about it all. So this is his statement about his inspiration for creating this art. So let me leave it there. Liz, do you want to talk about the veterans featured in this mural?
Yes, thank you, Jenny. So as you can see, and I really like learning from Jelani the way that he came up with this mural. We did meet with him several times over Zoom last year. And just the fact that he mentioned the Zoom calls or the phone calls that he had with the different veterans that are portrayed on this mural really did impact him. So that's one of the other things that I feel like it's really important to highlight from this mural project, that it has not only impacted the storytellers because they have a platform where people can learn about their stories through the QR codes, and then also by just seeing their faces, but also on the artists. So we also have Javier Salazar and then Jelani here, and many of the other artists who have collaborated with us at different events. But just the fact that now someone else knows their stories and can also use our art to create awareness is very impactful and very powerful. So that's one of the other key things of this project. And then also in this mural that is portrayed here, created by Jelani, and definitely very different from our other ones, but we want to highlight that they're all important in the sense that they're all communicating stories of people who, as Jay mentioned before, the unseen, right? The people that we know exist, but we don't hear their stories as often because maybe we're not highlighting their stories as much. So it's really important for us today, especially on this month, Black History Month, for us to really bring back these stories to life and have others talk about it. So I don't know, Jenny, if you want to add anything else before I go on and talk about how to get a mural to your city or to any space that you might like.
Just really quickly, I just want to name the deported veterans in this mural. And so starting from the left to right, we have Charsley Severin. And you could see him again at the bottom row from left to right. And then you see Rudi Ackerman Richardson, who you heard from today. From there, we have Pablo Dilbert on that bottom row. Then up top, we have David Biru, who you also heard from today. And then we have Pablo Dilbert again up top. So actually the bottom one was not Pablo Dilbert, it's John from Haiti, who you heard from as well. And then again, in that second row, the last person there is Jeff Brown, who is deported to Jamaica. Then up top, we have two deported veterans that are no longer with us, unfortunately, but Jelani was able to commemorate their stories. Again, he said that there were limited photos because so many of these veterans, when they pass away, it's really hard to have record of their stories, right? And so who you see first is Fisepi Valvo. He was in the US Army and he was deported to Haiti as well. And then you have Dardar Payne, who also served in the US Army, and he passed away while in exile. So that is our newest mural. It's very different from our other murals. And if you would like to help host this mural in an exhibit, we're more than happy to talk with you and make that happen. So thank you again. Let's go ahead.
Yes, thank you, Jenny. So if you want to be a part of this movement and help us, reach President Biden to really seal the deal, right? To not leave anyone behind and really help our community return to the US, then one of the ways that you can do so is by hosting a mural in your community. You can first start by reaching out to us, let us know which mural from the ones that we have available you might want to have. And then the cost, honestly, is just $300, which includes the shipping, includes the mural and the glue that we suggest to use to really make this mural come to life. It's not a painted mural, but it's actually something that we created for a do-it-yourself style, and where we have printed and reproduced the murals, and you could just glue it on a wall. So it's super easy. It doesn't take too long, but it does take, manpower to get it on the wall. So just $300. And, one of the biggest obstacles that we found to happen for our community is finding a wall. So I would say find a wall first, get the mural, and then if capacity permits, organize an event to really highlight and commemorate the mural that you will be hosting. Super easy steps, but definitely if you have questions, reach out to us and we'll be super happy to help you and walk you through it. But I feel like just from our experiences and hosting different murals like in Fresno and Tijuana, it's something that really brings community together, and it kind of gives you this sense of proudness, but then also just kind of like, now you are involved, you are bearing witness to history and stories, and that's something that you just can't walk away from. So I think it's something that also empowers people who might not be immigrants themselves, but people who might just come across the stories and scan a QR code and hear the voices of the storytellers from the mural project. So definitely reach out to us. The email is here, but you can just Google us as well as leave No One Behind Mural Project, and you can find more information about what we are all about and ways to get involved as well. And just as a reminder, before closing out, we have a mural installation happening right now in Barrio Logan, which is in San Diego. And it's the reinstallation of the Deported Veterans mural created by Javier Salazar. So if you are in the San Diego area, you can go see it there in person, scan the QR code, and start sharing it with everyone in your networks to really highlight the stories of our veterans and just everyone else who is a part of this project. So thank you everyone so much for sharing space and time with us, and for really being a part of a movement that we hope can really bring transformative change, because it's super delayed. And as we hear in our stories and just from hearing from storytellers, the urgency is there, but we need more people to get on board to really create a change that we can see in our lifetime and not, wait until it's extremely late. So I'll leave it with that. And Jenny, if you want to add a few words, or any of our other storytellers or coalition members, this is the perfect time for that.
Just everyone, thank you again for your time. We will be putting this video on our YouTube as well. And again, there are many other ways to get involved. We really want this to be accessible. So if you don't find a wall, there are other ways to have events, even if you don't actually post a mural, and we're happy to work with you. So again, thank you. Thank you to our storytellers, to our coalition members. Have a great day.
Thank you guys. Thank you, Jenny, Liz. Thanks,
Gracias,
everybody.
todos.
Thank you, Alex.